initially didn't like to see, or what I did see. So that's why I put the deputy on immediate administrative duty, and his equipment's here, he's at home, and we started a investigation on it now. So very preliminary now. That's most of the information I can provide, but I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
Did he actually strike this person? It looks like he did use his hand, or
Yeah.
what happened?
So we're reviewing the written reports submitted by the deputy and the other sheriff's office officials inside the facility. And the video itself speaks for itself about, I think I saw what everybody else in the nation and our local communities here is seeing. So we're looking right now is, are the deputy's reports that he submitted accurate? Are they consistent in his actions, consistent with how we operate here at the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office? Did he do anything to try to de-escalate the situation, or what caused that situation to happen, or that encounter to happen? So again, I don't know that information. Nobody really knows right now. We've reviewed the reports, and there appears to be some inconsistencies in the reports that we're going to try to get some clarity on from the video to the reports, and then we'll have to get some clarity on all that and put it all together.
Is the corrections officer allowed to strike an inmate? I mean, what is the policy?
Well, certainly you're allowed to strike anybody in an altercation to defend yourself, but there's different levels of resistance and different levels of force, and there's different type of trainings that we provide to our deputies to de-escalate situations. So we got to put it all together and find out, one, was he defending himself during the altercation? Two, were the reports and the information he submitted consistent with what we saw in the video? His actions appropriate, or did the juvenile in some manner or form threaten him or create any type of opportunity to create harm to the deputy, causing him to defend himself? So a lot of different moving parts, a lot of things to look at. We don't know, there's no audio, there's video, but there's a lot of people there that we need to interview. And again, we want to make sure the information submitted by the Sheriff's Office employees and the deputy are reflective of what we saw in the reports, and our internal affairs investigative team will find that out.
Is what you saw on the video anything that would be taught in training on how to respond to a situation?
Well, certainly anything in training, if there's an altercation, to get them on the ground and handcuff them for their safety and the deputy's safety, certainly, is that I don't prohibit my people from being able to use physical force to detain somebody, nor do I expect my people to be accosted or beat on by anybody. That's just part of the job that we do. Again, though, is what did the deputy do? Did he de-escalate the situation? What was the conversations on in there? We don't know. I can't hear it. There's no audio in there. Was there any threat? Did any threats be made? Does everything match up with the reports that we've obtained from the deputies to the video? Very preliminary right now. A lot of questions that we have, as many questions as the public has and the media has, that we got to get to the bottom of it. And he's on administrative duty. We have his equipment.
Did Deputy Pizzo say that the team did threaten him? I think I read that somewhere.
Well, we're just reviewing reports right now, so we got to give him his opportunity to be interviewed too, as well as during the investigation. He has his opportunity to explain his actions. And so, you know, the video's there, we see the video, he's on administrative duty, so we're going to look at it first. Was any criminal misconduct on any employees of the Sheriff's Office, one, and any administrative misconduct on Sheriff's Office employees, two, and that's what we have our internal affairs, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
This teenager, looking at his arrest record, it looks like he may have some mental issues as well.
You know what, we're dealing with a lot of mental health things right now, and certainly he is a young man who's 17 who's had a lot of conflicts with the law, obviously. He was brought in on weapons charges this time too. Not often do we bring juveniles into the Juvenile Assessment Center. They typically get juvenile civil citations. So for a juvenile to be brought into the assessment center had to have been of a charge that's a little bit more heightened than most juvenile charges are, misdemeanor. So he's had a lot of interactions with law enforcement and a lot of weapons charges in the past, but that's irrelevant. Once they're in our care and custody, once they're in a juvenile assessment center, is the actions of us. We're responsible for the treatment of individuals in our care and custody, and that's what we're looking at now. Was the treatment and the actions appropriate? With the level of resistance and the level of force used applied properly? That's what we're looking at.
You know, you said we were dealing with a lot of mental health issues lately. You know, obviously this is juvenile mental health.
Right.
You know, do the officers that are staffing that facility get special juvenile mental health?
Well, there is no special juvenile mental health training for anybody. We have over 340 of our deputies are trained in crisis intervention training. But again, police officers are trained to defuse situations, to triage the situations, and we give them that training to to triage it, to de-escalate it, to defuse it, notwithstanding if it's a juvenile or an adult. So we're looking at all those things. What we're really looking at is, were the actions consistent with what the policies of the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office and what I as sheriff expect out of my deputies? And were the tools in the toolbox that I give to those deputies to use, were they used the right way, or could something different been done? Or was the deputy in fear for his safety that caused him to put hands on the juvenile, put the juvenile on the ground? So if there's something there where he needs to defend himself, I'm going to support him. But were all the tools in the toolbox used, of the information and the training that we give our employees, was it used and used appropriately? And we'll determine that through the internal affairs investigation.
And he had his hands in his pockets and they were telling him to take them out, is that correct? So he could have had a weapon?
Right. So that's all the things we got to find out, you know. So typically police officers like to see people's hands. You can't be hurt by anything entering somebody's hands, where they have a weapon or something got concealed when he's entering the Juvenile Assessment Center, which is a detention facility. It's not unusual that people carry things inside and police officers miss things on a pat down. Was there something there that was missed and the deputies asked him to show his hands? I don't know all those answers yet. Those are the answers we need to know, and that's what we got to find out so we can make a determination on the conduct.
Has there ever been any problem with that?
No, he's a good employee. He's had one use of force complaint on him in his time as a deputy. He was exonerated in that. And so at the end of the day, he's a good employee, but we need to make sure our conduct at all times is consistent with the training that we give him here and the community values that we have in Sarasota County.
Based off those written statements, it sounds like, perhaps this juvenile was trying to perhaps provoke, with words that were being said.
Yeah. I think the question is, it appears as though the juvenile is provoking him, and that's true. You know what? We live in an era now where people can say things and do things. We live in a volatile society now. We have a presidential race where you have presidential candidates saying things that most juveniles shouldn't even be saying. But at the end of the day, we take an oath to keep peace, and sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never harm you. That's the things we use growing up as a child. And that's the things that I was taught in my values and my family. You shouldn't have to worry about what President Trump and Mr. Biden are saying about each other when you're in a detention facility. I don't really care what a 17-year-old says to me or what he says to the employees that work for me. If he's not harming them, it's fine. Words never hurt anybody. Hands hurt people. So we got to find out why that happened, and we'll get to the bottom of it, and I don't have those answers right now.
And isn't that what being professional of a police officer, like an important part of being a cop, is being professional?
Yeah, and I think you certainly don't want to go to the level of the people you arrest, especially a 17-year-old juvenile who has a lot of background on weapons charges and stuff. Is at the end of the day, in my 34-year career, I've been called a lot of different things, but really, who cares? I go home every day. And so what we're really looking at is, was all the tools in the toolbox used? Was there any de-escalation done? I don't care what the juvenile said to him, or if they did say anything to provoke him, it really doesn't matter. What we need to find out was the deputy threatened? Did he use force that was reasonable and right, necessary, and did he try to de-escalate the situation? And we'll get to the bottom of that and make the right determination.
One last question.
So obviously this video, there's no audio with this video. Is that something, it's got to be challenging, you
Yeah.
have to interview so many different people with this. Is that something the sheriff's office is considering, getting audio?
That's a juvenile detention facility. That's for the Department of Juvenile Justice. So we utilize that, and the Department of Juvenile Justice, the one does the assessments. The audio in there is of no control, or lack of audio is of no control of the sheriff's office. So, but there will be certainly, as we've learned over years of doing internal affairs, is that we'll get people to give information, provide information, and sometimes they're conflicting, and sometimes people forget before they give those interviews to us. But we're usually pretty good about deciphering through those things, and we'll get to the bottom of what the truth is. Okay? Thank you, everybody.